caught my fiancée on her coworker's lap without her ring. I cleared out our $60,000 wedding fund and vanished that night. So, I'm 32, and my fiancée, who we'll call Sarah, is 30. We've been together for 5 years and engaged for the last 10 months. We've been sharing an apartment we both leased, and wedding planning was in full swing. We had our big day set for about 8 months from now. Most of the big stuff was done, vendors booked, deposits paid, the whole shebang. But then, stuff went downhill, and I had to make some pretty big calls, which is why I'm telling this story. We'd set up a joint savings account, the wedding fund, and saved up $75,000 over the past year and a half. Both of us put in money, but I chipped in more since I earn more. I was the main account holder, which becomes important later on. The first sign that something was off was the engagement ring. Sarah picked out this ring she adored, and she wore it all the time at first. But then I noticed she wasn't wearing it to her office job. She's in a client-facing role and said the bling felt unprofessional, and she didn't want to draw too much attention. I mean, lots of professionals wear rings, so I didn't fully get it, but I let it slide. A few weeks later, her reasoning shifted. She said she wanted to keep her relationship status private at work, so no ring since her performance should be what mattered. That explanation didn't sit right with me, though. I thought being engaged was a good thing, not something to hide unless there were serious security issues, which there weren't. But she was adamant, it's her choice, her comfort. She'd wear the ring when we went out on weekends or social events, but not at work. Sometimes she'd forget it on weekends, and I'd have to remind her. She'd just shrug it off like it was no big deal. I also noticed she became more secretive with her phone, like angling it away from me when notifications popped up. There was this dude at her work, let's call him Chad, who started coming up in conversations more. It was all about work projects or funny things he said at meetings. Nothing seemed fishy at first, but then it ramped up. She started going to work events and team dinners more, often mentioning Chad. I'd ask for details, and she'd give vague answers like just a team thing or networking. Meanwhile, the wedding planning was getting tense. Sarah was very picky about things like the venue, photographer, and dress, all top-dollar choices. I was worried about the budget, suggesting we tone it down a bit, but she argued it was a one-time event, and we should go all out. With $60,000 saved, she felt we had room to splurge. Wanting her happy and avoiding fights, I mostly went along, even though we had already spent $15,000 on deposits. Then the real drama hit 3 days ago, on a Tuesday night. Sarah told me she was at a late work meeting with dinner, involving a new client and some team, including Chad. She left for work that morning minus her ring. Around 9:30 p.m., I was browsing Instagram and came across a story from a mutual acquaintance who's closer to Sarah but knows us both. The story was from the event Sarah attended, starting with harmless group shots and food pics. Then, a 15-second video clip showed Sarah sitting on Chad's lap. They were way too cozy, her arm over his shoulder, head tilted near his, and both were laughing. He had his hand high up on her waist, almost on her side. It didn't look like a formal work dinner to me, more like a bar scene, dim lighting, music playing, other colleagues around. Wow, things really hit the fan quickly. So, here's what went down. A friend posted a story on Instagram showing Sarah and Chad looking super cozy right after a work event. The post had a cheeky caption joking about them needing a room, and they were tagged on it. Sarah wasn't wearing her engagement ring, which was a bit of a shock, given she's my fiancée. Seeing her snuggled up with Chad like that, all work wifey and stuff, made my blood boil. Without wasting time, I didn't call or text her first. I went straight to our wedding fund, which was in my name, and transferred the whole $60,000 to my personal account. I also snagged screenshots of the story and captions, just in case they vanish later. Then, I started packing my stuff, clothes, important papers, my laptop, and some of my fancy watches and artwork. I wasn't interested in taking anything that was hers or things we bought together, despite having paid for a good chunk of the fancy furniture myself. I left a short note for Sarah basically saying, I saw the story, took the wedding fund, and moved out. Don't contact me. I left the keys on the counter, hired a moving service to haul my things to a storage unit, and then checked into a hotel on my own dime. This all happened in the middle of the night while Sarah was likely still out. I was not up for a face-to-face showdown. I wanted my actions to be loud and clear before any discussion popped up. Once settled in the hotel, I muted my phone, anticipating a flood of messages from Sarah, which started pouring in soon after she got home and found my note. Her mom and sister have also been reaching out, but I haven't engaged with any of them. Now, I'm here, reflecting on the whirlwind end of a 5-year relationship and upcoming wedding that, looking back, seems like a total sham. I feel strangely okay with how I handled it all, having made sure to secure my finances and give myself some emotional space. This post is more about getting my thoughts out there and realizing how quickly things can crumble when trust is shattered like that. So, there's this whole work hubby/wifey thing going on, and it's honestly kind of gutsy and hurtful that people either ignore it or think it's okay. I'm not here to ask if I'm the bad guy, because in this case, I'm not. My actions were a straight up reaction to what she did. I'm sharing this to see if anyone else has been in a similar boat, especially when you're so close to tying the knot. It's like, how did things play out for you after splitting up? What kind of drama or fallout did you deal with from your ex or their friends and family? I get the feeling this isn't over with Sarah, given we've got wedding plans and all this money involved. Quick update for those who saw my original post, thanks for all the comments and messages. I read a bunch of them, and hearing from people who've been through the same crazy stuff was oddly reassuring. I'm not looking for sympathy, just trying to figure out how others got through similar betrayals. A lot of folks asked if it was right or even legal for me to take all $60,000 from our wedding fund. Just to clear things up, the account was technically joint, but I was the main account holder, and she was secondary. We set it up like that because I handled most of our finances, my job is more stable, so it just made sense. Most of the money, like 70 to 75%, came from my paychecks. It was supposed to be our wedding fund, and she did chip in, but since I put in more and was the primary account holder, I could clean it out on my own. I know some people see this as a gray area, but considering her betrayal, which I see as a huge violation of trust, I felt like I needed to make sure the money wasn't used for a wedding that wasn't happening, or worse, spent by her. And yes, I have bank statements to back all this up. Some were curious about the Instagram story. The coworker who posted it? Sarah's mentioned she's kind of a gossip, so it's not shocking she'd post something. She tagged Sarah and Chad directly, and the whole work hubby/wifey thing wasn't just a one-time joke. I noticed comments from other coworkers that hinted this was a known thing. The original post was deleted after Sarah found out I saw it, but I've got screenshots and even a screen recording. As for Chad, I met him briefly at a holiday party over a year ago. He seemed like your average office guy. Sarah never said they were particularly close, just on the same team and working on projects together. That was until she started talking about him more often lately. Some folks suggested I should have confronted her, but knowing how past arguments over smaller things went, where she'd deny everything, get emotional, and somehow blame me for not trusting her, I figured it wasn't worth the circus. My actions were my way of confronting the situation. Reading all your comments this past week hasn't changed my mind. If anything, I'm more resolved. Her bold actions, combined with the ring situation and her excuses, made it clear that the person I thought I knew might not have been real. I've been talking to a lawyer about the lease, the money, and canceling wedding stuff. I'm still at a hotel, but looking for a new place to live. I haven't spoken to Sarah directly. My phone's on silent for her number and her family's. I've blocked her on all social media. She's tried contacting me like crazy, calls, voicemails, tons of texts. Her mom and sister have been blowing up my phone, too. The messages started confused, then turned panicked about the money, and finally went to angry and blaming me for everything. I haven't replied. Through my lawyer, I let Sarah know I plan to terminate our apartment lease and how we can split whatever's left, though there's not much I'd fight for. The letter also officially ended our engagement because of her actions. I've started reaching out to our wedding vendors, which has been a real pain. Most of the deposits aren't refundable, and I'm taking a hit of about $15,000 from the total $75,000. My lawyer mentioned that since the contracts were in both our names, she's also responsible for cancellation fees, but I'm not really counting on that. So, here's the deal, I'm trying to split from Sarah cleanly, especially about those lost deposits, and I've told the vendors to loop Sarah into any future cancellation emails since she was in on the bookings. Her reaction, from what I can tell, was totally what I expected. It just proves her crazy and entitled attitude. After she got the lawyer's letter, which was sent both by registered mail and email, she really ramped up her attempts to contact me. But it wasn't with any sense of apology, she came at me with demands and threats. Her mom even called my mom, but, thankfully, I had given my parents a heads up, so my mom was ready for it. Sarah's mom accused me of bailing on Sarah, stealing her wedding cash, and being the bad guy. She insisted my mom should talk some sense into me to give back the money and make things right. My mom, being the rock star she is, simply said I'm an adult, she trusts my decisions, and that maybe Sarah should think about her own actions. Things got heated, and Sarah's mom ended up getting nasty, so my mom hung up the call. Sarah herself shot me an email at work, I've blocked her now, claiming that the whole Instagram story was just a drunken mess up and that Chad is just a buddy. She accused me of overreacting and called me a psycho. She wanted her money back ASAP to continue her wedding plans, like it would go on without me. She even threatened to sue me for slander and emotional distress, still sticking to her guns rather than being sorry. She said I had no right to ruin everything over one dumb photo and video. She didn't acknowledge the engagement ring issue or the pattern of behavior that was clear. Meanwhile, a mutual friend reached out to tell me Sarah's been spinning a totally different tale. She's telling folks I started acting jealous and controlling, didn't like her having guy friends, and left abruptly, taking the wedding funds to punish her for her normal work social life. She left out the cozy sitting, touchy stuff, and the work wife comments, and she's making herself out to be the victim of an unstable partner. This friend also mentioned that Chad's keeping his distance from Sarah at work now that everyone knows about what went down. Apparently, Sarah caused a scene at the office when she couldn't reach me, which got people talking. The apartment lease is a mess, too. Sarah doesn't want to terminate it, likely out of spite or because she can't afford it solo and doesn't want to move. My lawyer's on it, thankfully. But Sarah's not taking responsibility, she's deflecting and lashing out, which confirms that avoiding direct contact with her was the right call. My original thoughts about watching her life fall apart aren't about her life crumbling, but rather her plans and big dreams unraveling. She thought she'd have this grand wedding, mostly on my dime, without facing any fallout for her actions. But those expectations have definitely crumbled. It's been about 3 months now since I first shared what happened with Sarah. A lot has happened, mostly what I expected, but it's still really frustrating. From what I can tell, Sarah's situation hasn't gotten any better. Keeping away from her has been key. After her initial flurry of calls, texts, and that angry email, plus her mom's interference, she's tried to contact me less often, but hasn't stopped completely. I still occasionally get voicemails, which I just delete, and she even tried using a new number, which I had to block. The main issue's been the apartment lease and all the wedding vendor cancellations. Most vendors have sorted out the cancellations, and we lost about $17,000 in deposits. I covered this out of the $75,000 we had. When Sarah got the confirmation of the cancellations and final bills, some with minor extra fees not covered by the deposits, she fired off angry emails to several vendors, accusing them of being on my side and demanding they refund her for her emotional distress. I found out because a couple of vendors reached out to me about her harassing them, showing me the email threads. Her logic was that since I canceled, she was the one who's been wronged and deserved something back. The vendors, of course, pointed her back to the contracts she also signed. The lease situation's been tougher. She wouldn't sign off to end the lease early or talk about splitting my share. She stayed in the apartment, likely assuming I'd keep paying half the rent forever. The lease had 5 months left when I moved out. My lawyer told her I'd pay my half for the legally required notice period of 60 days, as per our early termination terms, but that I wouldn't pay beyond that and she'd be responsible for the rent after that or any penalties for breaking the lease. For 2 months, I paid my share directly to the landlord. My lawyer also sent her a notice that she needed to sort out the rent from the 3rd month on. So, here's the scoop. My landlord reached out to my lawyer last week after Sarah missed paying the rent for the 3rd time. In the beginning, she was supposed to cover it all by herself. But then she tried to pin the responsibility on me, telling the landlord I had somehow swiped her money. Needless to say, the landlord wasn't buying it and started eviction proceedings against her. This means Sarah's living situation is pretty shaky now, mostly because she just won't step up and handle her responsibilities. I got some juicy gossip from a mutual friend saying that things at Sarah's job aren't much better. She'd been spinning tales about me being overly controlling and jealous, but that didn't really stick once folks at her work saw an Instagram story she posted. It got saved before she deleted it, and everyone began gossiping about her overly cozy relationship with a coworker named Chad. When the drama hit the fan, Chad apparently distanced himself and told folks he was glad to have dodged a bullet. All of this has left Sarah feeling pretty foolish and isolated at work. The friend mentioned that Sarah's work performance is taking a nosedive, and people see her as a drama queen. There's even talk that she might be hunting for a new job or might get nudged out. The biggest twist is that Sarah finally got herself a lawyer and sent me a letter demanding her $60,000 back. Plus, she's seeking damages for breaking a supposed promise to marry, claiming emotional distress and harm to her reputation. The letter was packed with over-the-top accusations and lies about me. My lawyer, after reviewing it, sent a detailed reply. He laid out why I ended the engagement and backed it up with Instagram evidence. He also broke down how much each of us put into the wedding fund. We made it clear that if she wanted to talk money, we'd have to dig deep into all the shared expenses and that I might come after her for her part of the lost deposits and lease breaking costs. I've still got $43,000 left after those $17,000 in lost deposits went down the drain. My lawyer thinks her claims are weak, particularly since her behavior was part of why everything fell apart. That whole breach of promise to marry thing is outdated and rarely holds up, especially when there's just cause, which we have. He reckons her legal tactics are just for show, hoping I'll settle and make her go away quietly. We've stood firm on not offering any settlement beyond what's fair for her actual contributions to the wedding fund, minus her part of any joint costs. It's been 2 weeks since our last reply, and we haven't heard a peep. On a personal note, I've snagged a new apartment and moved in about a month ago. It's smaller than the old one, but I'm almost done untangling any shared accounts or bills we had. I'm focusing on work and settling back into a routine. While the initial anger has faded, I'm left with a kind of tired disgust whenever Sarah-related issues pop up. Watching her life unravel is like witnessing a slow-motion train wreck fueled by her own decisions and entitled attitude. Her professional reputation's in tatters, her living situation's dicey, and her attempts to bully or manipulate for money have flopped. She's pushing everyone away. She made some questionable choices, like ditching her ring for sneaky reasons, getting inappropriately cozy with a coworker, and then lashing out instead of owning up when things blew up. The legal threats she's made might turn into something more, but they could also just disappear once her lawyer clues her in on the costs and slim chances of winning. For me, I feel like I've got closure on this relationship since the Sarah I thought I knew was either non-existent or just a really good act.